Hello, everyone. This is your host, Debra Poneman, and I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Harrison Klein, who will be speaking to us about the I am effect. Many people call Harrison Klein the world's leading transformational luminary. Transformational because he has directly helped guide and teach thousands of people from every corner of the world into a new light and new understanding of their spiritual potential. Luminary because he enlightens others and helps them raise their consciousness from one level to the next. Combine the two, transformational and luminary, and you have the ultimate reality-based answer to one of life's greatest challenges. Who am I and what am I meant to do while on this planet? Only through his own experience of pain, depression, and spiritual confusion did Harrison come to the discovery of real and practical tools to elevate him to a new level of personal fulfillment and success. And today, he is going to share these tools with all of us. And among the things that Harrison is going to share, one, a unique series of insights explaining the words I am and its profound effect on your life. Next, how your self-components like consciousness, mind, and spirit are linked to the I am effect. Also, awareness of the universal laws and how to apply I am to manifest your greatest life. The benefits of knowing and applying principles of the self. What's been keeping you from achieving abundance up until now, and how to integrate the I am effect on a cellular level. Harrison, I am so happy that you are here. One of my favorite people on the planet and one of my favorite people to interview. Welcome.
I am so happy to be here, and thank you for interviewing me. I adore you, and I adore the way you interview, and we have a great relationship, and I love that, and I'm happy to kind of articulate the things that, we all want to know in any way that we all want to know them. So very cool. Thank you for introducing me like that. That was a kind of unique introduction. So the first time
I know. I made it up.
All right.
And, well, it's because of what I know about you. And every time I interview you, I don't know how many times it's been, but I learn something new. So when I see that you're on my calendar, I'm always very, very excited because I am a student myself, and I know that you are one of the greatest teachers. So before we start, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up being the transformational leader, teacher, and luminary that you are?
Okay, well, I guess, my story starts in a way that many other stories start. I was born, but I was born into a household that was filled with shame and guilt and fear on a consistent basis because my parents were Holocaust survivors. They experienced, some of the most inhumane treatment one human being can do to another, and one group of human beings can do to another group of human beings. Quite a journey of life that they went through beyond my comprehension of physical experience. And so they were broken spirits during that particular time and afterwards, and they never really, just about till the end of their lives, till the end of my mother's life, began to even recover from the experiences they had in Poland, in the camps and all that stuff. So it was pretty, amazing in the fact that they even got a chance to do anything. There's all this guilt about survival. Why did I live, and why did other people die? And I'm so fearful, and people hate us, and how do I survive in this situation? It was a place that was fraught with very intensive aggression and survival needs and complex scarcity needs and continuous difficulties on a daily basis, so thick that in point of fact it drove me into autism, because the entire tenure of what was going on, or tone of what was going on in our household, was so oppressive from the fear vibes that as a sensitive child I could not handle it. And I was sitting in my mother's kitchen at the age of 3. I remember my father and mother were arguing about money, and the pain was so great and the aggression was so intense between them that I decided I wanted to have nothing to do with either of those concepts or with them. At the age of 3. By the time I was 7, I had pretty much gone into full-blown autism and cocooned myself from connecting to any human being. There was very little auditory response to anything, visual response to anything. I couldn't connect with anybody in a visual way or an auditory way or a sensory way. I had what I could totally called the pain body, which meant when anybody came within 6 or 8 to 9 feet of me, I immediately experienced pain in my body. From the massive resistance I would put up that was going on inside of my head, the fear resistance that said, no, don't come into my space. No, don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Don't connect with me. Don't try, because it was all pain to me growing up. And so under those circumstances, I went into a dark, deep cocoon state of not knowing. I just was blackness. And what most people would consider everyday awareness was very, very foggy to me, like you see in a movie, like silhouettes in a fog, And I heard very little of what people were saying. And only when people directed a question to me did I even begin to pay at least a little bit of attention, and only caught the last part of what they were doing. And I tried to reconstruct with my mind what people were saying or what I was perceiving at the time. Most of my energy was spent in resistance. So I went into this deep, dark place, and it afforded me no communication with anybody. So I was in pretty much total isolation. I had no conversation with anybody till I was almost 30 years old. At least the conversations I did have were so minimal, it was kind of, laughable. I mean, it was, how much is this and what do I have to do, was the extent of most conversations I had. And though I was quite capable of reading and living vicariously through books and movies, I had no ability to be connected with human beings. And without warning, one day I was sitting in an apartment in Cleveland, Ohio, in about 1970, whatever the year was, 2, 3, 4, I can't even remember. Everything seems to blend together back then. But I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I had a mystical experience. Suddenly I was yanked out of my body and sent spinning through the universe in a way that I have no reference point for, that nobody that I know of has a reference point for, except a couple of things that I've read on occasion through other people. But I was sent spinning faster than the speed of light through the universe, watching planets and suns and cosmic experiences form and deform in front of my very eyes, stars and things created and dying in front of me in an instant, and faster than this in multiple things. And the velocity was beyond my capacity to even endure. But it was just so amazing that I just had to keep myself from passing out, really, in a sense, and didn't know what that was. I was so, without reference to anything like that this had emerged. I was in a different state than anything I'd ever known. And when I was deposited back in my body, all those symptoms of Asperger's disease, which I had experienced for more than 25 odd years, were absolutely gone. I was totally visual. I was totally auditory, totally kinesthetic, and had, a great deal of intelligence at that point beyond anything. I was just amazed at my own intelligence, because prior to that, the perception that I had from the people around me were, over shy or dumb and ridiculous, or, unable, and nobody wanted to have very much to do with me. I didn't even have a friend till I was in my 35th or 36th year, even a acquaintance friend. At any rate, so when I came out, everything became vivid for me for the first time in my life. I could see, colors vibrating and people vibrating, and could hear conversations that were full and complete, and I could see things that were beyond what would be normal everyday awareness, at least to me. And suddenly I was free. Everything that I'd ever experienced before that had been absolved. and I was in a new state of mind, and I wasn't the same being. And, the things that were coming out of my mouth were not from me. They were from source. I had no idea what they were. And I was totally amazed at my own experience. I was in a constant state of amazement, and I kept going, what is this? What is this thing? I have no idea what it is. Well, the reason I had no idea was because I was looking for some recognition to understand what that state was. And you cannot recognize a state of the unknown. It was a state of massive unknownness. It was a state of a being that was beyond anything that I could have ever experienced. And there's no grasping. You can't grasp the unknown with the known. So there was no recognition to anything. So it was just a new state of life. And for the first time in my life, I was alive. I was fully alive, never having known anything like that. And from that point on, my entire experience on this planet changed. And from the deep, dark depression and hell that I was going through in the early parts of my Asperger's, I was totally alive, fully happy, fully involved, totally scared, but totally involved in what was going on. So the vibration had quickened multiple times of who I was, and my energy was plugged. I mean, it was whole for the first time in my life. No energy was leaking. I was scared, but it wasn't leaking in the same way that psychological fear leaks your energy, but it was a comprehension of everything. I was suddenly, aware of what I was comprehending in a massive kind of way and what was going on around me. And so my life was very different. My relationships improved, my love improved, my ability to comprehend improved, my sensory acuity was sharpened. There was a whole other life that was going on inside of me that I had never known it existed before, and it just began unfolding until I am who I am today. So,
well, two things I just want to comment on. One is that whenever I am reminded of that story of your early years and the fact that it was up until you were in your 30s is so mind-blowing to me, because you are one of the most warm and loving and connected people. Connecting, whenever I'm with you, it's like a nanosecond, and the connection is so profound. And the other thing that is so amazing to me is that usually when people have a spontaneous awakening like you had, they don't have the ability to teach others how to have the same. It's just, they say, I don't know, it just happens. I'm so grateful that you had that experience, yet you're also able to take others to higher states of consciousness. And it's very, very unique. So I'm glad that that is the case with you as a teacher.
Thank you.
And that having been said, I know that the basis of your teaching is centered around the concept of I am. And I know that I am it's kind of become in the vernacular, like a lot of people toss around I am. But I know that you have a very unique way of explaining what I am is and the meaning of I am. So can you share that with us as a basis for the rest of the questions that I have?
When you use the words I am, it begins to provide a path to understanding and activating the most powerful truths and ultimate laws of our universe, the law of being, or I am. And again, being can't be done, it can't be made, it can't be had. It simply is or it's not. And, how can we be anything? How can we be wealthy, happy, healthy, loved, whatever the case may be? What the I am does is it provides the path. So whatever we attach, it's an announcement to the universe or a declaration of what it is we want to experience. So whatever we attach the words gets played out. In other words, if we think or say or act in accordance with I am healthy, then we experience health, or we will create health. We'll actually be health rather than healthy. And to go even further, when you use the words I am as a statement and end with a noun rather than an adjective, rather than I am healthy, I am health, we become a state. And that state is something we can discuss further along as we go, but, it starts a journey with our eyes and our mind open to accepting experience. And and don't worry, for folks who are listening, don't worry if you get or understand this. The content speaks to your individual consciousness anyway, and subconscious or unconscious or superconscious. But what our consciousness doesn't understand, our unconscious does, and will capture and will deliver for us. So when we talk about the I Ams, it's a process. It becomes a process based on our beingness, our announcement to the universe of what we want to experience. I am health. I am joy. I am abundant. I am, a superstar. I am sexy. I am happy. I am unhappy. That's the announcement to the universe of what you want to experience. And it is the law of the universe that it must provide that instantaneously because it invokes the God energy. It is, in the words that Moses heard from God, it was I am that I am. And the words I am are the vibration. The thing that was given to Moses was this vibration of I am, right? So in this process, if we use it in a correct fashion as opposed to using it like I am depressed or I am angry or I am ugly or whatever the case may be, or I am fat, this process becomes something that is a principle. And it becomes a principle that evolves the same way that life evolves in a spiral spiritual fashion. In other words, our comprehension evolves similarly with every visitation to an I am or a particular law or truth, and we discover nuances and accept and access epiphanies that clarify our conclusions. So as we trust in the process, when we say I am in anything, as we trust in the process, we trust ourselves. We already step into the beingness of who we are. So I am a millionaire. I am wonderful. I am happy. I am in love, whatever the case may be. These are the things that move us forward and also the things that move us backward by the misuse of the word I am. We mostly walk around, most of the universe and most of the population walks around with a series of I ams in negative form and don't even know what it's doing to them. So when we repeat the I ams in a negative form, we experience life in an unhappy way. When we repeat the words I am in a positive way, we have an instantaneous transformation of God energy, which starts a momentum for us to experience what we say. And that momentum is magnified as we step into the experience, which we can talk about as we step into the identity experience. So there's this glorious, glorious experience, and it's an information flow and a being flow of energy that comes with the words I am, that integrates and floods ourselves with the knowledge of self. And that self, it is a declaration or announcement to the universe that this is myself. Okay, and that is so profound because the universe pays attention to that simply by the fact, and this is for, most of the people on the line will understand this. If they haven't integrated it, they still know it by intellectual concept. We are God. We are gods. We are units of individual energy. And everything is a unit of individual energy, and our unit of individual energy starts and becomes from the I am. Does that help?
Yes, but I have a question. When you say that if somebody makes the statement, and I love you said that it becomes a state, not just a statement, but if somebody says, I am health or I am wealth, you say that it starts a momentum towards actually manifesting that state in this third dimensional existence. Because if it were that easy for somebody who is not well to say I am health, or somebody who has severe financial problems to say I am wealth, then I would think everybody would be going around just saying those statements. So there must be something more to it than just making the statement I am health or I am wealth or I am a rock star.
Right. The reason, and I know you were going to ask me this a little bit, was what keeps us from experiencing what we want to experience. But the reason why we don't experience the I ams in the way sometimes that we state them when we start to use this principle is the fact that, as we know, everything in the known universe, including matter, breaks down into units of energy and waves and particles. That's just basic quantum. Every unit of energy as well as the formation of energy that creates light and color and sound and thought and emotion and matter, has a frequency or a rate of vibration. So what happens when we begin to speak our I am is that we have an instantaneous transformation at that very moment, and we experience that situation, but we don't recognize it because we're so conditioned to see the other side. The moment we take ourselves away from that decision, and it's just a decision, we clearly create or attract that which we are, radiating, or radiating as our frequency or our rate of vibration. So if you say, I am wealth, and then you say, oh, but my bills aren't paid, you actually take the frequency away from the I am wealth. In the physical world, there's a time delay between what you say in your thoughts and in your verbality, in your speaking, between the statement and the experience of that statement, simply because in the third dimension, we are prone to emotional outbursts. And, we have an emotional outburst that can screw us up and actually kill us oftentimes if we are, if everything that we said was immediately manifested, we could have an emotional outburst to kill another person or kill ourselves or all kinds of other things. So there's a time delay in order to see if we want to change our mind about things. But the truth is, if we leave ourselves alone, the I am provides this open place where we can create or attract that which resonates with that frequency of our statement. So the law of resonance really tells us that what we desire, we must vibrate at the frequency of our desire in order to have it. So the I am vibrates into that frequency. It is the beginning of that vibration into that frequency. And as a law, it's scientifically inevitable. So the key is not to have an I am that you don't believe, because we know how to experience that situation. But the key is to understand that the I am, if you don't change the I am by nature will catch up with whatever that image is that you have. And I am begins an image inside of your mind. It begins an image inside of your body. It floods your cells with the emotional chemicals that begin to create an identity, and your identity is reality. So if you change your reality a lot, the universe doesn't know what to give to you, So if you're saying, if you get into a cab and you say, I want to go to 8th Avenue in Lexington, and then in the next breath you say, I want to go to Timbuktu, and then you go to the breath you say, I want to go to, California on Ventura Boulevard, but the cab driver will look at you like you're crazy. The same thing happens with the universe. It doesn't know what to give you if you keep changing up. So, but if you can be consistent, if you can hold or just release after that and not change or bring in a contradictory I am, you must experience what it is you state. So in actuality, our identity is our relation to the world. It's a relation to the self. So identity and self are the same thing by definition. Identity is a condition of being ourselves in experiencing it in the way that we want to experience it. So our identity is our I am. And we choose by our words to be given moment by moment what it is that I am. So we choose to be one thing or we choose to be not that thing. So our identity can change instantly. However, most of us form habits around our identity, often unconsciously, and we believe our identity is permanent, and so we start going into this I am depressed, or I am sad, or I am difficult, or I am so tired, and we start doing these things, and it's how we identify ourselves that creates our relationship to the world. And that relationship becomes the essence of what we experience. And it simply starts and manifests from the words I am. Every single thing that we experience starts somewhere inside of us from the words I am. It doesn't matter what that experience is. So this is what we discover as we start to really monitor our thoughts deeply and cogently. So we change instantly, but we can, we form habits, and those habits demonstrate, what we experience in the world. So if we come into the habit of I am wonderful, I am a rock star, I am, the cause of everything that exists, I am, sexy, happy, incredible, those habits will beget your reality. I guarantee it. By law, it has nothing to do with me. You don't have to believe a word I say. Just try it. Try it for 15 days and watch if your world doesn't change. The world we encounter comes from our identity. It demonstrates that being comes first. And the law of I am is the law of being. It's the first cause of everything. So it's a direct result of what we say, of our I am.
Well, it makes absolute, complete sense. I understand that now because, I was thinking, well, why don't people just go around saying it? But I understand that you could say it until the cows come home, but in the next breath, you're contradicting it in word, action, thought, then you can nullify it. So you have to be conscious. And if you were conscious for 15 days, I guess it would make a huge difference. And I would like to know, what's the relationship between I am and consciousness, mind, spirit? I mean, I know you work with the laws of the universe, and probably there are some that we should be aware of and apply in regards to manifesting the I am. So
yeah, there is definitely an overflow of glorious information out there about how the world really works. So if we begin to understand how the world really works, we begin to understand what mind is, what spirit is, what consciousness is, and so on and so forth. And from that place, once we understand what it is, then we can start to move forward. So let's just take a quick little vignette of what each of those things are. So mind and spirit are definitely linked. So self, really, if you take a look at the self is a complete comprehensive aliveness. It is the comprehensive, it's the coherence of beingness. It's the totality of who we are in every part of our form. It's the completion of our body. It is the completion of our mind and completion of our soul, if you will. And it's what we are. Our self is really our state of being and our total state of being. When we talk about mind is a wholly other thing. Mind is a tool of the self, or it's a tool that is there in order to make the self experience something. It is the tool that goes out, and actually mind is not even what we think it is. Mind is, in point of fact, truly a conditioning. Unfortunately, it's everything that we've ever heard, seen, experienced, or talked about. Mind is a state of memory. That's all mind is. It's really the record of our life experiences. It's not the creative tool that we think it is. Mind is a conditioned experience of memory. So it's a place where we draw everything that we've ever encountered in our lifetime. So, and we can use it as a tool to move forward or backward or sideways, or whatever it is we may want, or identify things that we may want. And then spirit is something totally different. I mean, spirit is it is the field of all possibilities. It's a field of energy of all possibilities. And it is a field of energy that behaves in particular ways, which we begin to comprehend as we study our life processes. But spirit is the energy that illuminates, that radiates, that, animates who we are and everything that is all around us. So the relationship between I am and spirit, mind, and self are really the doorways to all these different things. The I am will use the tool of mind, begins to access the realm of spirit. Spirit actually accesses us. We don't really access it in the way we think we do. It begins to create the conditions that form in order for us to access the realm of spirit. It really is a field of invisible energy in which all things were made, and it behaves as love, fulfills all requests, and it's light and illumination and radiation. So the universal law, of the connection between consciousness or spirit and self and mind are really the fact that, the I am in the physical form controls the physical form. and it controls the experiences of all these other things that are used in order for it to create experience. I don't know if that's clear enough, but I hope it is.
Yes, and you said that in this world we get what we are, not what we want. And there are so many people who teach techniques of manifestation, like how you can manifest what you want. But you're saying that we have to change what we are in order to get what we want. Do you use the I am to change what we are so that we can get what we want?
Yeah, well, the principle is that we are, and the knowledge as we grow and expand our consciousness and our awareness is that we are all things anyway. We are everything that exists. So, our I am, or our beingness, is our connection to God, to Source. And being is, always has been, and always will be eternal. So, identity, or I am, is our foundation of being that we identify in order to create anything in this third dimensional state. So here's the big secret. We're all things anyway, and identity is really the most simple form of choice. And since we are all things anyway, we get what we are, not what we want. We have to integrate what it is that we are by the law of attraction and resonance. We have to integrate what it is. So we have to decide to be wealthy. We have to decide to be love. We have to decide to be health. And to the extent that we decide to do that with whatever commitment we have, we become the state that we experience that reality or that situation. So by the law of identity, we get what we are and not what we want. So what that really does is it attaches us to the laws of the universe, the laws of abundance, the laws of resonance, the laws of correspondence, which is really the place in which we experience all things. It creates our life processes according to the laws of life. So we align through this what we are. Identity is reality. So what exactly is this thing? We understand how a thing comes into being. We understand that there are three processes: the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, the law of resonance, that allows us to experience all potentialities. And, the law of abundance demonstrates that our universe is one of unlimited resource. And the law of correspondence says that we have to vibrate at the frequency of our desire in order to experience it, to bring it in. So that means that we and our desire are one and the same. The law of resonance tells us to attract, we have to vibrate at that frequency. So if we're not satisfied with what we have in our life right now, then all we have to do is change our vibration. And that's why we use our thoughts and emotions and speech and actions to attract what we desire or to become. To be is to live or to exist and then have things come. So what it is that they're all forms of energy with their own frequencies. Everything is a form of energy with its own frequency. In order to experience anything by the law of attraction or resonance or correspondence, the only way we can experience something is to vibrate at that level. And by vibrating at that level, we experience it. With the things that are out there or the things that we visualize or feel, make themselves known to us in physical form. So that's all there is to it, really. I mean, when we align with something, when we become something, or when we experience something, we can have anything we want by simply vibrating at that frequency. So we create this powerful amplified frequency that inevitably draws the experience or the item or the person or the thing into our field of experience. We are all just energy, intelligent energy, and the energy is all about vibration. So it's like one big ocean. Some places in the ocean it's placid, some places it's whitecaps, some places it's tsunamis, So what we vibrate at, what I am, or what we tell ourselves, begin to draw those things into our frequency. So we become what we get in this world, what we are, what we become, or what we state who we are our frequency, which is a combination of our mental, physical, and emotional frequencies. By those three things, we draw that into our lives, and that's the only way we can draw anything into our lives. There is no other way to draw anything in by the laws of the universe. We have to integrate our states of desire into our lives, into our vibration, in order to experience it. There's no other way, because the universe is just an echo of what's going on inside of us. It's just so when we vibrate at a particular rate, it echoes back to us. So if we vibrate at the rate of a Lincoln Continental, if we vibrate at the visual of a Lincoln Continental and we really feel it, it's an echo that goes out and comes back to us as a Lincoln Continental. Okay? So it's as simple as that. I mean, I don't know why we complicate these things, but this is really as simple as that. If we want a beautiful house, if we hold that vibration, our job is really only to hold the vibration of anything that we desire. That's our job. That's the simplest, only one really interesting thing that we have to do to create any experience in our lives, and that is to hold that vibration of what it is we want by looking at it internally and then, identifying it with it externally. So that's how we become. We are those things that we experience, because they're just our energy going out there and coming back to us in a different form by the fact that we formed an image of it inside of our mind.
Harrison, I have to say it's so refreshing and empowering to hear you say that our only job is to hold the vibration of what it is that we want, because I thought that was our only job, but then I hear so many people, saying that there's all this other stuff that we're supposed to do, and then it starts getting confusing, and then we think that there's more that we need to do than just hold that vibration. So thank you for stating that is our only job, to hold the vibration and not contradict that vibration.
That's our only job.
Okay, so how can we, one of the things that you said you would tell us is, how can we integrate the I am effect on a cellular level?
You're talking about an exercise for that?
Well, could you give us one?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, baby, go for it.
All right, so let's say we have a particular desire. Let's just call it a Lincoln Continental for this moment, okay? Or let's just say that we want to achieve $10 million in wealth, and we want to be happy, and we want to, have nice things and travel around the world, or whatever the case may be. So, and we right now are at a different state of being than that. We are, making much less money than that. We have difficulties in our relationships. Our marriages are not going good. We got kids that are angry at us. We got bosses that don't agree with the way we do things, and so we're in a constant. We have defined, not knowing that we have created all that. Anyway, we are the creators of our lives. We are both the requesters of our experience, the experiencer, and then the results of that experience. We are all those things all rolled into one. So we might want to, do something totally different. Let's just say right now we're in the area of manufacturing, and we want to create a life of rock starness, okay? We have some skills as a musician, and what we want to do is we want to step into another kind of lifestyle altogether. So the first thing that we want to do in order to make a massive change in our lives is we want to define our own role, our old role, the role we're experiencing right now. Our old role will contain some aspects that we like and some aspects that we want to keep, and some we may no longer prefer. Our self-definition starts with an I am. So if we define our own role in terms of gender and, I am a woman, I am a man, what applies to that? I mean, I am a nationality or hair color. I have particular kinds of looks. I'm handsome or ugly or have a belly, or my weight is, or I am a lawyer or whatever. I am friend to, et cetera, et cetera. Define your own role, define your typical emotions, define your clothes, your fashion, your food, at the role that you're in right now. Get into the current reality that you're experiencing, the way that your body moves, the sports you like, the the walking style, the tone of your voice, the spirituality or sexuality and sexuality, your status of wealth or, handling problems. You're either easy or problems are hard, or, your communication is either great or mediocre, or your speed of talking is fast or slow. Just define your old role. Start to come down and start to look at all these things, your abilities, the ownership of what you want, what you have, the money you have, your attitudes toward children and colleagues, and the way you feel about yourself as a man or a woman, or towards authority, or whatever the case may be, or what your personality is like. So in doing this, really, we complete an interesting list, right? We start to create a list of our old role. And that self-definitions are the source of what we're experiencing in life currently, even more than our secondary beliefs and our behaviors. But if we define ourselves as somebody, for example, who is talented, we attract events and people with which we can express our talent. So if we define ourselves as having little or no value, we attract events that prove what a failure or little value we have, or the fact that we're being abused on all sides. So the very first thing is to define that old role. And this is the first part of the exercise. The second part of the exercise now is to define the new role, right? So define the new role in which we start, touching on this alternative reality, the one that we want to step into. So we use this list that we've just created of our old role that we made up just now as to define our new role. Who would we like to be from this point on? Be specific. I am a rock star. I am, experiencing millions of dollars. I'm experiencing people admiring me continuously. What role do we want in the movie of our lives? So we define the new role, right? Who do we want to be in all of its delicious, subtle detail, right? So we might want to add, some bad sides or sparks to invoke the reality with some more realism if we want. But, basically we start to define the new role that we want to step into. So once we've defined, the same things in the old role, and let's just say we're defining gender and color and typical emotions and favorite colors and body postures and, tonality of our muscles and, abilities and ownership, we define the same thing that we put down for the old role in the new way. So the next thing we do, once we have that down pat on a list, we can then, define what the new role is going to be. The next thing I suggest we do is that, we have an easier time accepting a new role. Part of the fact that we don't accept new roles is that, we surround ourselves with the props of the old role, which is we surround ourselves with the environment of the old role. We surround ourselves with friends who reflect back to us the old role. And we live in a place that reflects back to us the old role. We drive and go to places and things that reflect back to us an old role. So what I suggest is, everything around us is just an echo of what's going on inside of us. So now what I suggest is we get some new props that can be objects or places or circumstances, clothing, jewelry, anything like that, favorite things, mottos, statements, affirmations, ritual symbols, whatever, anything that reminds the self of the new role. So we get some props with that, enjoy making a list of the props, you want to fit into your new life, to fit into your new identity, ones your old identity didn't have. And the aim is really to purchase things or go places that symbolize the new reality, So you start to get enjoyable about the new reality. Then you start to practice the new role. So what reality has been up to now gets its power and energy from the routine behaviors and thoughts where we've acted and had no control in the past. We've made it into a habit. So it appears that it's easier to follow routine ways of acting and thinking, but that's not true at all. No matter how often we try to convince ourselves, our play shop here really proceeds by taking automatic behaviors belonging to the old identity into conscious awareness, and then teaching the new self or teaching the self what it means to be the new identity. This is very profound, what it means to be the new identity. We do this by alternating, and here's the exercise, by alternating between the old and the new identities intentionally until we gain conscious control of both sides. In other words, we want to intentionally behave like the old role and then intentionally behave like the new role. We want to alternate between both roles until we feel we can exercise enjoyment and control of both sides of that. So there's no doubt that our consciousness understands the difference between the old role and the new role. That is the exercise. So, for example, we may walk the way of our old identity would walk, and then we walk the way our new identity would walk. We shift between the two. Or we deliberately go to a place that our old identity goes to all the time, and then followed by going to a place where our new identity would go, and we shift between the two. Or we intentionally respond to fear the way our old identity would, and then deliberately respond to fear the way our new identity would. So here's the secret. Bottom line is, and this is the whole exercise, we do the old, then the old and new, so we get command of both things. And here's a secret. Unwanted behaviors that we create, really, intentionally and consciously, eventually come under our full conscious control. Why? Because what we create intentionally, we can also release intentionally. So we make ourselves the source or cause of the behavior rather than watching it come up. And that makes it easier to allow the new identity to be. That is a very profound and easy way to step into a new identity. So if you're willing to do that and continuously alternate between the old role and the new role, and practice that situation, you will eventually have control of the new role. So if you want to be a millionaire, and you're now making $40,000 a year, you start to act and behave, define what you're doing now, then redefine it in the new role, in the new I am, a millionaire underneath that situation, and start to act and think and talk that way. We physicalize it. In physicalizing our lives, we actually flood our beingness with that experience. And so we start to know that, and so it comes under our control. We are in control of what we know, right? I mean, that is our mind process. We're in control of what we know. And so now we start to know what it feels like to be in the new space, in the new role. And when we start to feel like it by the law of correspondence, by the law of resonance, by the law of attraction, we must have that in our lives. It is what comes. So once we have understood the new role, we can just then begin to release the old role. And then we start to step into that new space on a massively new level, on a great level. And that becomes a great experience for us because the role is exactly what we've decided. And we become that role. We become wealth. We become millionaires, or we become, happy. How would a happy person act? If you're sad right now, how would a happy person act? They would be looking for happy experiences. Happy people talk to themselves happily, look for happy things in their environment, experience things that make them laugh and that create joy within them. They're on the lookout for that. Sad people are always looking for the things that make themselves sad. They're always in a space of this is wrong with that, and it hurts me to be in that space, but I don't do anything about it. I just repeat that, and I'm in a habitual state of that coming into my life because I'm practicing I am sad internally. Okay. But when you start practicing I am happy internally, watch what happens in just a few days. Your whole life begins to change. I am a rock star. I'm a superstar. I'm a megastar. I am incredibly happy. I am amazed. That's one of my favorite ones. I am amazed. And then all the things around you become amazing. So there's great beauty in this. So please step into the passion of this, because the passion of this will change your life in a way that you can't even imagine where it will go. I mean, it will take you into this whole series of new realities. And if you add this exercise by releasing the old role into the new role, and this is the exact process I'm asking you to do to step into the new role that you want to have with your I am. You start with the I am, practice the I am. Start by defining the old role, then define the new role, then create some props around it, then practice the new role, and then, alternate between the two. That experience at all, if you want to, how valuable is it to change your life to you? If it's valuable, you can do this and, commit to doing that, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week until you start to feel what it feels like to be in the role you want at the level you want to play at. You want to play at a boardroom executive level? That's fine. You want to play at a rock star level? That's fine too. as you step into those things. Madonna was a rock star long before she ever became a rock star, if you get my drift. And she played that. I know that she was ordering people around when she was 20 years old in a way that a rock star would, because she was playing that role. Eventually, that role had to play out in physical reality. It had to. There was no choice. Okay? So if you understand this, this is what moves energy. It moves people. It moves the I am. It moves your state of being into the place of where you are. And then what you are, all the things that you are come to you. If you are a great lawyer, all the things of a great lawyer come to you. You don't have to go after them. If you're a rock star, you have people demanding your time and asking for you on a continuous basis. You don't have to go looking for gigs. If you're an internal rock star, gigs will come to you, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if I'm defining this well enough, but I think I am.
Yes, this is absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for giving us this. And, at first when you said, then you go back and consciously act out your old role, first I was thinking, you don't want to vibrate with that, but I see the brilliance in it, because then you see the contrast, and then those unwanted, when you're doing it consciously, then you have that choice to eliminate the old behaviors instead of just doing them unconsciously where you have no control over them. This is fabulous.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, can you share with us some of the amazing results that you've seen from people who have applied any of the things you shared with us, just this particular exercise or just working with the I am? Do you have a couple specific experiences that you could share with us that people have had?
Oh, well, in the last 4 months, I have a mentorship group that we are working with. That is, I believe, 11 people. And of those 11 people, every single one of them has had a high increase in their happiness, high increase in their consciousness. Several of them have had a high increase in their income and in their finances. They've learned to be in control of the way they emote, be in control of their I am. They've learned dramatic business practices simply by, doing these kinds of things, accepting the new role, and then, understand that there's a whole difference between wanting something intellectually and stepping into it physically. There's a huge difference. So when you physicalize something, for example, somebody wants to be a public speaker, we can take somebody who has a great fear of public speaking, and by physicalizing this, just the way we're talking about right here, we can step them into being a great public speaker. We can make them conscious. We can make them present. We can create the knowledge of what's going on both sides of themselves so that they can make the choice, which is what we do as human beings. We only do one thing. We create experience, and we create experience by choice. So, there are several people. I mean, we have created, I got to say, I don't even know how many, hundreds of thousands of heirs and millionaires that are involved out in the world right now. And we've done that. We've created health experiences, new health experiences. We have gone from, negative relationships to positive relationships, people finding their soulmates, people finding their financial acuity, their abilities, finding new experiences and loving it, walking from changing one job into the life of their dreams, changing a job that they hate into the life of their dreams. These are all tools that we can use. Understand that as we evolve ourselves, we're on a spiral journey upward. All of us are, and we can't even help that. That's just the way life is. It unfolds that way. And so, you're here for a reason. You're on this line for a reason. Those of you who are listening are here for a reason. So these are things that will help you. So this is really something that we have used with many people under many different circumstances. I mean, when I do individual counseling and things, we see dramatic results almost immediately. And so, I mean, we've had people that have gone from I'd say a certain amount to 3 times their income in a matter of just weeks. So that's The I am does that, plus the exercises, plus the physicalization, plus the knowledge, creates that. But you don't need any of those things. Again, I'm going to tell it to you one more time. What you need is to hold the vision. Hold the vibration. That's your only job. These other things are only tools to supplement and support that vibration. But all of it works, and all of it is incredibly potent for you to accelerate your process in. And, it creates certainty. It creates the place in which, confidence vibrates. It creates the state of what you decide to, it makes a state of what you decide to be certain. It persists in your life circumstances. It uses the law of resonance, the law of being, the principle of creations. And when we state a desire in this way, and we act it out through roles like this, through demonstrating this, as I've done with many, 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 many people, we become the rudder of a boat sailing down the river of our lives, fueled by our certainty and by our I ams. And then life circumstances begin to move into the exact position that we want to see them happen. So we stop looking at the conditions of our lives and focusing on what's around us, rather than and focus on the journey that where we're going, instead of putting our focus in the water on what's on either side of us, what's good or bad or any of that stuff. We move our attention to what is within us and what our vision is, and then the confusion that's holding us back from life starts to dissolve, because we're not distracted by all these other things, and that's what keeps us from getting what we want. We often live in a state of distraction. Certainty and I am and these kinds of exercises put us into a place of what is possible, and then the universe takes us down that life path regardless. We may as well do it smoothly and effortlessly as we go. And so the conditions of our lives that are negative dissolve, and we start to create from the evidence of what our mind is, or what our thoughts and images of our mind is, rather than the evidence of our past thoughts that are out there that we're experiencing right now. So it's a universal force, and we've used the same kinds of things to create, multiple levels of higher income. We've used these tools to create happiness, to create new and better relationships, to create satisfying life experiences, to manifest things. I mean, I myself manifested a car in 3 days, a brand new car without any money at one point. I can't even tell you how many people have manifested greater connections with their loved ones that didn't have connections with them before. I can't even tell you how many people have gone from unhappy to happy in these principles, just in a matter of just actually, some of them in a matter of one instant. This weekend we had at our retreat, we had one person that made an instantaneous transformation just by one connection, just by the way we were there and vibrating with her at that time. We created a whole new paradigm. She dropped her unhappiness and became happy, and she embraced it, and her whole being was different. Everyone could see it. Everyone in the room knew it and could see it, and knew that she had come into a new state of mind and being, and so did she. And she was dancing for the first time in her life, and prior to that had been unhappy, and her story was about, woe is me, and I can't do that, and my parents are no good, and all these other things. So, specifically, I can tell you that we have made some people famous. We have helped to create life-threatening issues back to health, and we have increased people's finances and joy on a continuous basis. That's what we do, and that's what these ideas and principles and laws of the universe do for us on a continuous basis. And once we know them, and once we begin to just practice them and hold our vision of what they are and understand the process, it becomes easier and easier and easier.
Well, we want to learn more of them, if you don't mind. I know that we have so much more that we could learn from you. Sir, I know the other night when we were together, I think we talked until like 1 or 1:30 in the morning, and I didn't want to let you go because it's just everything that pours forth from your consciousness is so life-changing. And I know that you created a special offer for everyone who's listening to the call, and I would highly encourage everyone to go to Harrison's special offer page right now and experience it for yourself.
So just simply click on the special offer button on this page, and you can experience this amazing, amazing offer for yourself.
Harrison, can you let everyone know what they'll find there?
They're going to find 6 different modules relating to the life process. We're going to talk about being and what that is, so we can finally now, right here, quit the painful rat race, become financially free, get rich and wealthy, know prosperity, and experience abundance, start living and thriving instead of struggling and worry. So we're going to find these 6 modules that have to do with our maturation in spirituality. And one of the things that I want you guys all to know, that the more spiritual you become, the fatter your wallet becomes. The more you understand these things, the fatter your wallet becomes. So we talk about being, we talk about in this package, we talk about the laws of cause and effect. Cause and effect is the primary law that runs this universe. You can call it karma, you can call it what goes around comes around, you can call it, the equal, everything has an equal and opposite reaction. Everything that you can call it the conservation laws of the universe. It's all karma, the law of cause and effect. So that is the primary law that runs the universe. Without it, the universe would collapse. So if you understand it and you become in harmony with it, you're never in resistance to it. We can use it to have and experience anything we want. We want to understand, as we were talking about, that the I am creates an image inside of our mind that we must, by law, because we can't outgrow or outperform our self-image. So because we can't outperform our self-image, we have to have images that are new images that create bigger and better experiences for us. So we talk about how to create the mind images that we want. Our lives are truly the thoughts and images of our mind manifest into the physical world. We talk about the principle of certainty, which is really faith and belief, and that's how we fuel the lives that we want. It's an exploration. It's an exploration of what is possible to the extent that we're certain that we have faith, and to that extent we create and control our destiny. So all things are possible. Nothing is impossible, but it's faith and certainty, which is the signal to the universe that initiates and animates the processes, the mechanics of creation process. So we come to the place of having this in gobs of plenty when we know what it really is and we know how to use it correctly. We start to have our lives step into this place of power and involvement and connection and presence in the universe right now. But once we have the tools that create our self in a bigger fashion, or the self we want to experience in a bigger fashion, then we start to look for what's even more progressive and what's higher. That is our purpose in life. Why do we come here? We all came here with a purpose before we were actually even born, and we give the rationale, or the true rationale, that you can accept or reject. For some of you it may be woo-woo, but for others, we all know we have a mission or a purpose that we came here for. We can either accept or reject that situation, or we can just spend our time all our lives looking for it. But there's a way to unearth that and let it emerge. From there, we come into these new realities. We come into this revolution of life. It's a revolution of an emerging factor, which is something that is beyond our ability to comprehend. Remember, I said, I experienced something that is unlanguageable. So, I can describe it to you, but you'd never understand it. Nobody would understand it unless they've experienced it. It's like trying to tell you what the taste of honey is. Until it's on your lips, you don't know what it is. Anybody can describe it to you, but until you've tasted it, it's a whole other thing. So we step into this place of a spiritual maturation, so with these things, we, take on our ability to realize our choices. So this program was designed to make an evolution of character, integrity, and higher vibration, energy and power and love, and, clean up our blocks and, step into the place where we trust the process. We trust our happiness. We trust our abundance. It's not something that's foreign to us. And so we live there. We trust that abundance. We trust that lifestyle. We trust that knowledge that we can create anything, and we become strong and vital and exceptional in this world. So, and we recognize it, and everybody recognizes it, and then Source starts to speak through you. Source lives you rather than you live it, and you trying to live it. Most of the difficulties have been that people try to attain things that they already have, and once you realize you already have it, you no longer have to go for anything. It's already integrated. All you have to do is realize it, and these are ways to realize it.
Amen. Wow. And on this landing page, there are so many very varied experiences that people have had. One of the themes is much greater self-esteem, and that self-loathing left, and people just spontaneously loving themselves, besides the fact that several people said that they actually experienced an awakening. So this is just fantastic, and I thank you.
It becomes magic and brilliance simultaneously. You become magic and brilliance simultaneously. The unfoldment of you is an amazing thing, more so than we can ever imagine in our daily, everyday awareness. As we step into these higher realms of being, as we step into these places of character and high vibration, we unfold a confidence and a wealth and an amazing new sets of experience that are absolutely joyous and abundant in every way. And so, yes, people have had extraordinary experiences. I don't mean to step into your... Okay, sorry, I jumped in there.
No, it's okay. You can jump in anytime.
So if you haven't yet, just click on the special offer button on this page to see for yourself what an amazing package this is. You will be so glad you did.
Harrison, before we sign off, please just give us a few final thoughts, and then we'll say goodbye.
Fears come from our beliefs that we've adopted in our early life from our parents and others who've passed down their misperceptions on how the world works. So, what I suggest is as we step into overcoming our fears of scarcity and lack, and we step into the place of love, we revisit the people who we are originally meant to be, the magnificence of our lifetimes, the magnificence of everything that was given to us as the source energy that we are, the units of energy from God. And, what I say to you is certainty is knowing that anything you want is already yours, whether it's phenomenal wealth, outstanding health, all-encompassing love, anything. Certainty is believing in the guarantee that it's there for you. And, all you have to do, again, is to hold the vision. I've given you multiple ways, and I've given you many more ways in my program to hold that vision. So practice certainty, replacing thoughts of fear with thoughts of certainty and faith, and it becomes second nature. And we launch our lives this way into the magnificence of who we are. So thank you for allowing me to help in every way possible. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone who is here. And, let's get on to an effective new series of life experiences that are chosen and not, we don't have to struggle for. It becomes effortless as we understand how to do these things and how to step into the knowingness of the fact that anything we want is already there for us.
Amen. Well, Harrison, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for everything that you contribute to the evolution of the planet. Thank you for how generous you've been with everything that you shared, and just thank you for being you. I adore you. Now everybody who listened today knows why, and I'm sure they now are thinking, I adore him too. So thank you, and I hope that you come back again.
I love you, Debra.
I love you, Harrison. And thank you to everyone for spending this time with me and with Harrison Klein. And I look forward to when we are all together again, and to you living your life without limits. This is Debra Poneman. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
That's what we're talking about.
Amen.